Sticking with our Coaching for Improvement discussion, I want to talk to you a little bit about a book by Bracey that's called Managing from the Heart. I'm a huge, huge believer in books. If you guys could see my library in my office, you'd believe this. But if you ever have a few minutes to spare, you know, everybody likes to go to Books a Million and hang out. Go in the business section and look at their books, because I can guarantee you that no matter what your thing is or what you're good at or what you're bad at, you're going to find a book in there that speaks to you as a manager, and it's going to help you fix something. So it's really interesting, the amount of data and information that's out there and the things that you can find that will help you. And if you like quizzes, there's books that's all quizzes. I love quizzes. Anyway, there's stuff out there. This book was sent to me by a manager in the Midwest. I was working on a project. I got involved in conversation with this guy. He sent me this book called Managing from the Heart by Bracey. And in typical, a lot of the business books nowadays, as you know, are written as fables. So this one is a fable, written as a story, and it's about a guy who's kind of like an old curmudgeon. He's an older guy, he's married, his kids are college age, and he runs his business. He's the owner, and he's grumpy, and he's mean, and he's ugly, and he treats his wife the same way. He's nasty to her. He treats his kid the same way. He's pretty much nasty to everybody. And so something bad happens to him. He ends up in the hospital, and he gets kind of like the work angel comes to him. Not really the work angel, but somebody comes there and says, you know what, you need to change your ways. So they give him a thing to live by, kind of a little mantra, if you will. And the book is based on these 5 foundations. There's 5 tips, and they go under the acronym of HEART, H-E-A-R-T. And these are things that he needs to do to change his communication style to improve his life, and in this case, to continue living his life, as it were. But the first one, under the letter H, is hear me and understand me. Okay. You think about that, which of our key principles does that sound like to you? Yeah, it's empathy. Hear me and understand me. Okay? You want to make sure that you are hearing people. Really hear them. Don't interrupt them. Don't keep talking about what you want to talk about. Hear what they're saying to you. And secondarily, really understand it. Okay? Take the moment to think about what people are saying to you and why they're saying it. You may need to ask some clarifying questions, but try and get to the heart of the matter. And if somebody's saying something to you, oh, I'm so busy, they're telling you they're overwhelmed. You might need to slow down and say, well, what's going on with you? How are you feeling about your workload right now? Listen to people. Hear them and understand them. Okay? That's empathy. Under the letter E, this is the final one. Letter E is, even if you disagree with me, don't make me wrong. Think about it, think about it. Okay. Even if you disagree with me, don't make me wrong. That's a cool one, isn't it? Yeah, I like that one a lot. Perfectly okay to disagree with people. Think about how unique and how different we are. I mean, what are the things we're not allowed to talk about at work, right? Religion, sex, and politics. Why? Because we're really different. We can be different and still care about people. People are still good people, even if their beliefs are different than ours, or if they disagree with us. You think this is mauve and I think it's lavender? That's okay. You can disagree with people without making them wrong. Think about that. When we label people, we make them wrong. Instead, something they've done is incorrect. Think about file work. This is wrong in your file. It doesn't mean you're a bad person or a bad rep. It means there's something wrong in this file, this instance. This little piece of data needs to be fixed. It's not about you being a bad person. So understand that there's a big difference between people disagreeing and making people wrong. It's a huge life lesson. I really do love that one. And it goes to which one of our key principles? Yes, esteem. Okay, esteem. Which kind of brings us to the next one. And the letter A is acknowledge the greatness within me. Okay. Acknowledge the greatness within me. That goes back to that nobody wants to be a failure. Think about it. Every one of us has a self-image, a way that we think of ourselves. Nobody wants to think of themselves as the screw-up at work. Okay? So we have to constantly be aware of every single person who reports to you, there's something great about them. And you need to find out what that is. This is about relationships and bonds. And in order to have a team that really functions well, you need to know enough about everybody who works for you to know what it is that makes them tick. Maybe they're the best mom in the world and they're really proud of that. So you need to use that. You need to feed off of that. Everybody is great at something. They have greatness within. So make sure that you acknowledge that and you're aware of that. Every person that works for you is a valued person. Okay? Under your letter R, heart, H-E-A-R-T, we're on R. R is about recognize my good intentions. Recognize my good intentions. Okay. I'm going to tell you a story about my last job. I was in charge of 4 states trying to get everybody to do the same thing, the same way, database, process, classes, programs. I'm trying to get everybody on the bus, as it were. I had one guy who didn't want to be on my bus. He ran a region of South Florida, and he was a smart guy. But he had these different ideas, and he was always butting heads and always had these different plans. And this was occurring for me about the same time I picked up this book. And I know I was scheduled to go meet him, and my boss had told me, get him on the bus, make sure he's got all the people in our database and that they're coming to the classes when they're supposed to. I'm like, all right, so I go down there, I have my agenda. I get to this meeting, and here, with a big beaming smile, he presents me with his whole new South Florida leadership program. He has his own database, he has his own classes, he has everything, his own unique thing, and he has a plan all laid out, and he's had people working on it. And so what's my reaction? Ah! Right? All I could think of was, oh no, this man is just out to get me. But I had to back up, and I had to think about this statement. I recognize my good intentions. And I had to say, you know what? I'm sure that this person did not wake up and say, how can I make Peggy Ducey's life bad? What can I do down here in South Florida that will really irritate that girl? I really want to find a way to get under her skin and make her life miserable. Okay? Now, I guess there's a small possibility that's happening, but it's highly unlikely. Okay? Instead, here's a man who says, I have a group of people working for me. I want to make them the very best I can. I want to develop the best leadership program and the best classes and track it and really stay on top of it. He was proud of himself. He smiled and said, look what I've done. He was unveiling for me. Ta-da! And all I was thinking was, oh no. So I had to recognize his intentions. He thought he was doing something great, and who am I to tell him he wasn't? So it's a different process, and it's a way of stepping back, and you can use this one a lot. I've used it a lot since then. So I highly recommend to you that you internalize this one and recognize people's intentions. Step back and say, okay, this is not about me. We always have our own scripts and our own drama. And you go, oh, this is, it's not. Think about the other person. Where are they coming from? They're usually coming from a place of goodness. They're really not out to get you, okay? And the last one under the letter T is tell me the truth with compassion, okay? Tell me the truth with compassion, okay? When we're coaching people for improvement, the truth is very easy. Tell people the truth. Tell them what you found, what needs to happen, but do it with compassion, okay? This is really about acknowledging people's value and treating them with respect, and if you will, the golden rule, treat others like you want them to treat you. Okay? Tell them the truth, but tell it with compassion. Go into that conversation saying, you know what, I know this is going to be a really rough conversation, really rough, but you have to tell it in a way that you understand. And one of my reps who I love dearly and posted for a manager job, and I had coached the person and groomed the person to really try and get him to that level. And as it turned out, we had a lot of candidates, a lot of interviews, a big process. It turned out he wasn't one of the people who was going to end up getting the job. And I was truly heartbroken for him when I had to break that news to him, that he wasn't going to get the job. But the fact that I was so upset about it and it was so genuine, he was really able to feel that from me. And it made that letdown so much better for him. I think he ended up comforting me in the end and telling me it was okay because I was so upset and I had so much compassion about the message I was having to relay to him that day. So if there's something you can take away from this, is be very genuine. Okay? Be aware of your feelings and the people around you. Try not to do it as just a job, but really try and make some genuine connections. If you're being genuine and expressing your feelings and your emotions, it will really go a long way with your people, and they're really going to want to work for you. They will follow you anywhere and do anything for you.